Today we are looking at Noah and an infamous ark. This is part one of a two-part series. Up next on DC Bible Study. What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me today for DC Bible Study. It's a beautiful day. It's a new year. New year, new me. New year, new me. No news, no news.
No news, no news, no news.
It's the worst. A whole new year, new me thing is the worst. But anyways, thank you so much for joining me at DC Bible Study. I am the Dangerous Crusader, or Brett Parks, or Hey You, or whatever you want to call me. I usually answer to, I'm a middle child. You middle children, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Today we are going over Noah, and this is part one of two series, and it is titled Noah, the Millennium Man, part one, and I'll let you know later why I'm calling him the Millennium Man. But before we go over that, we need to find out who was Noah. So Noah was a prominent figure in the Old Testament of the Bible. You know, he's one of the main dudes. He's got that starring role. No supporting role for him. He's got that starring role. He's getting paid, right? If this is a movie. Not a movie, not getting paid. As a matter of fact, he's dead. So there's no payment.
What? No.
And here's a fun fact. Noah was also mentioned in the Quran and the Baha'i writings. I think I said Baha'i, right? Baha'i religion began in the 19th century, so it's not really cared about religion. But Noah is mentioned in both of those. Quran is one of the arch nemesis of the Old Testament in the Bible, and they talk about Noah as well. So Noah was born around 2913 BC. And those of you that don't know what BC means, that means before Christ, or if you're a secular person, before Common Era. They usually say BCE because they're like, well, we don't want to say Christ, so it's before Common Era. Blah, blah, blah.
Stop it.
All right, settle down, Beavis. Noah, he had three boys. Their names were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Japheth.
You did it! Congratulations!
Noah, he had three boys. Their names are Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and they're going to be an important role at the end. It's probably going to be in part two. And let me just tell you right now, part two is crazy messed up part two. It's so dysfunctional. It's ridiculous. That's why I didn't want to tackle it today, because I really wanted to focus some on that. So Genesis 6, 5-7 says, the Lord saw how great the wickedness of human race had become on earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Now that's crazy right then and there.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
He was like, you know what? I thought you guys would step up to the plate, you human beings. But you know what? You didn't. You're evil. All you talk about and all you think about is evil stuff. I don't like it. And the evil people are like, oh, whatever. And the poor animals. I mean, the animals, they have nothing to do with this. They're like walking around, eating their grass and whatever. And then God says, I'm destroying the animals too. They're like, what?
This is the worst!
Right? That's exactly, that's what an aardvark sounds like. Aardvark. I just like that name. Aardvark.
Stop it.
But at the end of that verse, you can see that God considers Noah. He saw Noah and he was like, see, that's my guy right there. Now that guy, he doesn't think evil all the time. That's not the guy he is. Noah was righteous and blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God, which we all should strive to do today. In Genesis 6, 11-13, it says, now the earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all people on earth had corrupted their ways. So God said to Noah, I am going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I am surely going to destroy both them and the earth. That Mother Earth, man, she's just going through her orbit. She's just spinning around. And then God's like, I'm going to destroy the entire earth. And even she's like,
What? No.
wait a second. I don't know. I'm tired. Here's something very interesting that a lot of people don't know, and I'd like to tell you because a lot of people don't know. I personally didn't know this. Noah was 480 years old when God commanded him to build the ark. What?
Forget about it.
480 years old? I'm 45 and my back hurts, my leg hurts, my head hurts, my neck hurts. I sneezed the other day and I think I have to get my rib replaced. But 480 years old, God commanded him to build the ark, and Noah, he builds the ark. But he doesn't just build any ark. He doesn't just throw together some wood and stuff, say, that's good. No, God actually commands Noah to build the ark with precise instructions. Genesis 6:14 through 16 says, "So make yourself an ark of cypress wood. Make rooms in it and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you are to build it. The ark is to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high." More on that in a second. "Make a roof for it, leaving below the roof an opening 1 cubit high all around. Put the door in the side of the ark and make lower, middle, and upper decks." Now, those are very precise instructions. Like, I don't even give my kids that precise instructions. Given they don't do anything right the first time, so maybe I should start talking in cubits.
Just kidding, but not really.
So those of us that don't really know what a cubit is, and I have looked it up before in the past, and then I forgot because my brain's like applesauce.
It's true.
And then I looked it up later. So 1 cubit is about 1.5 feet. It's like 1.5 feet. So 300 cubits long is 450 feet. 50 cubits wide is 75 feet. And 30 cubits high is 45 feet. So that's just to put a context, something that we understand. 450 feet long. That's a big old boat. That's not like a canoe like the Cherokee was making and the Mississippi was making. No, it's not a canoe. This thing's huge. It might take them some time. But God in Genesis 6:17 through 21, he goes on to say this: "I am going to bring floodwaters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens. Every creature that has the breath of life in it, everything on earth will perish. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark, you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. You are to bring into the ark 2 of all living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you. 2 of every kind of bird, of every kind of animal, and of every kind of creature that moves along the ground will come to you to be kept alive. You are to take every kind of food that is to be eaten and store it always as food for you and for them." Noah, when he heard about how the Lord's going to destroy the earth, and he said, "I want you to build an ark, and this is exactly how you build it." Noah probably had an idea that it was going to be a flood, but he didn't know completely. He was like, "An ark? Like, it hasn't rained here like in forever, if not ever. And he wants me to build a boat on this dry ground." But then he's like, "Hey, oh, by the way, I'm going to flood the earth and everything around it. So this is why I'm making you build the ark." And he's like, "Ah, ha, ha, ha." That's Coming to America. One of the best movies ever. Eddie Murphy, man, he was before his time, but he was perfect for his time in the same way. What does Noah do after he says that and says, "Build an ark, I'm going to flood the world"? He didn't say, wait, let me try to talk you out of it. No, Noah, he obeys. In Genesis 6:22, it says Noah did everything just as God commanded him. So he didn't skirt on anything. He did exactly what God told him to. So Noah begins building the ark, and it took Noah, check this out, it took Noah 120 years to build the ark. And during that time, it never rained. It didn't rain during that time. Now, some scholars believe that it never rained before the flood. That's what some scholars believe because it's never really said in the Bible that it actually rained ever. And what a lot of scholars point to is Genesis 2:5 and 6. But there are differing opinions on it. And in Genesis 2:5 and 6, just to read to you, to give you some context, it says, "Now no shrub has yet appeared on the earth, and no plant had yet sprung up. For the Lord God had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no one to work the ground, but steam came up from the earth and watered the whole surface of the ground. Then the Lord God formed a man from dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being." So that's why some scholars say, no, it never rained, because if it did rain, we would know that, because it would say it, and in this verse, it didn't say it, blah, 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 blah. Either way, it didn't rain while that 120 years that Noah was building the ark, it didn't rain.
What?
That for sure we know because it says it in the Old Testament. And we believe the Bible is God-breathed, God-inspired. We believe that everything's in the Bible, he wants in the Bible, and things that aren't in the Bible, the Lord does not want in the Bible. So we could rest assured that during that 120 years, it never rained, which would have made Noah even dumber looking, right? Now, Noah, his sons' wives, and a pair of every animal were shut in the ark by God. So God said, time to go. The animals showed up. Everyone went in. And then God shut them in. And in Noah, at this point, Noah was 600 years old. That's when the rains and floods came. 600 years old. I don't know if I can count to 600. Yeah, I can. I can count to 600, but that's a long time. And the rains, it rained and it flooded, and it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Now, that's a lot of rain. I'm here in Florida, and when it rains for like 3 days and 3 nights straight, we have problems because there's a lot of water here anyways, and the swamps just get really high, the rivers get high, and then we're there looking at our swimming pools for alligators because that's what happens when it rains a lot.
It's true.
In Genesis 7:17, it says, "For 40 days the flood kept coming on earth, and as the waters increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth." So everything that was on the earth that was not in the ark died. Now that doesn't include fish and stuff like that. Fish, they can swim, they're good, they're cool, they're with it, they're fine. But everything that was on the earth that has breath in their lungs died, including the birds, because the birds had nowhere to land, so they got too tired and they died.
What? No.
And the floodwaters, they flooded the earth for 150 days. And it even said that the highest peak of the earth was covered by 75 feet of water. So Mount Everest, or whatever you think the highest peak is, 75 feet of water until you reach Everest. You got to swim down 75 feet before you reach Everest. That's insane. Now, there is some differing opinions on what kind of flood it is. Some scholars said this was truly a global flood. Some scholars said that God flooded the whole earth, but others say it was a regional flood. And I can see good points on both sides. So whether it was a regional flood and it was just all the earth as far as human beings were at the time, I understand that, or the majority of the human beings were. I get that. So I'm like, okay, yeah, it could have been a regional flood. But if it was a global flood, I can also be like, yeah, it was a global flood. And this is only because the Hebrew meaning of certain words like land, earth, country, etc., it could have had different meanings, because the Hebrew language, some of these words have multiple meanings. And so we don't really know for sure if it was a global flood or a regional flood. But like I've said in the past, your salvation doesn't balance on whether you believe there's a regional flood or a global flood. This is just context. We grow appreciation. We get to know where humanity's been and how long and how far we've come. So it doesn't really matter. Regional, fine. Global, fine. Whatever.
Forget about it.
After a while, the earth dries up. After those 150 days, the earth dries up, and God gives Noah, his sons, and his sons' wives the okay to come out of the ark. Genesis chapter 8, verses 15 through 17 says, "Then God said to Noah, 'Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and your wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it.'" Noah peeks his head out, looks to God, say, "We good?" God's like, "Yeah, bro, we're good, man. You can go out, release all the animals. They got stuff to do."
Jolly good.
And this is a really, really cool part. So before Noah's flood, humans are vegetarians. I don't know what a true vegetarian or a true vegan is, but they drank milk, they ate fruits, vegetables, grains, stuff like that. They never ate meat. But at this moment in time, after the flood, God adds meat to humanity's diet.
Like meat's back on the menu, boys!
Genesis chapter 9, verse 3, it says, "Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. Just as I give you the green plants, now I give you everything." What's awesome about this is that while Noah was making up an offering, which is a burnt animal, that's what the offering was, God smelt that and he was pleased by it. He was like, "You know what, that smells pretty good. I bet you Noah and his family would like to taste that, because it probably tastes just as good as it smells." So he's like, "You know what? You know that whole vegan diet, vegetable diet, or whatever vegans, vegetarians do. You know that whole diet? Forget that.
Forget about it.
You can eat whatever you want." At this point, God says to Noah, God promises never to flood the earth to kill all things ever again. Genesis chapter 9, verses 13 through 15 says, "I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring the clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all the living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life." So that is a great, great promise. And every time you guys see that rainbow, not a rainbow on a flag or not a rainbow on a t-shirt, whenever you see the rainbow in the sky, that is a covenant that God gave Noah and all of us as humanity, that he'll never flood the earth again. Will he destroy the earth in fire? Most definitely. And that's coming, but we don't have to worry about that at this point. And at that note, we are done with Noah, the Millennium Man, part 1. Next week, we're going to go over part 2. And I got to be honest with you guys, it's weird, man.
What? No.
I didn't like studying this. I thought it was kind of crazy, but we're going to go over it And you guys have your own opinions on it. You can leave comments, do whatever. Thank you so much. Remember, guys, if you like what you hear and you want to hear more of this, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. And I just want to personally thank you guys for this. I'm trying to get the 500 subscribers, eventually getting to 1,000, but we're getting close. And I thank you guys. I couldn't do it without you. So remember, be dangerous, love God, love people, love you. Today we're going to be looking at Noah and the infamous Mark, Luke, John. Everybody looking at my scene. Han.